Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lynchburg. We are glad you are here. Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, whatever your age, whatever your gender identity, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. As we work together for justice, compassion, and peace, we also acknowledge with humility that our buildings sit on Monacan land. My name is Jim Billings, and I'm a member of the Sunday Services Committee. If you are with us for the first time, either on Zoom or here in the sanctuary, we are glad you chose to be here this morning to participate in the service for the congregation we love. If you would like to receive our monthly newsletter and Friday email updates, please fill out the virtual visitor card, the yellow card, found on our website, uulynchburg.org under Sunday Services, or if you're here, you can fill out the yellow card found in the back of the chair in front of you and then place it in the offering basket during the offering. I do have a couple of announcements. Join us for our class, The Ethics of Star Trek, today at 2 o'clock in the Unitarian House Library. For those who would like to make a donation by an app, Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lynchburg is now using Venmo rather than PayPal. Also, the Reverend John Deere, not to be confused with Dear John, will offer a workshop on peacemaking at Quaker Memorial Presbyterian Church on March 22nd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Please join several of us from the congregation to learn ways that we can engage more deeply in peacemaking. I don't know if there's any other announcements. Once, going twice. Now I invite us to release our worries about the world and our own lives as we enter into the service by taking some slow, calming breaths. Okay, let's take a moment to wave our greetings to our friends on Zoom, and for our Zoom folks to wave good morning to those of us in the sanctuary.
Zoomies and roomies, yay! I think you're going to hit a scramble to get Let us join together in our unison chalice lighting. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life. And I invite us to rise and embody your spirit as we share together hymn 326. Let all the beauty we have known. Be seated, and I'd like to invite all of those young at heart to come join us up here.
Is this yours? No.
Wow, today, the weird sound. Today, we're going to be talking a lot about art and beauty and what makes life special. And Emily, I did not have a chance to say this, but somebody here is having a birthday today. Do you want to stand up, Nora? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nora. Happy birthday to you. Oh, okay. So that's something beautiful that's happening today. And there are beautiful things that happen every day all around us. But I have also heard that a number of you, help create things of beauty. Do you want to tell us about them?
Yes. So we have been a very creative bunch recently, and we will leave these up here in case anybody wants to come and see them after the service. But it actually started with our young adults, and they painted some beautiful rocks, and you might have seen them around Drysdale because they left them there as little surprises for us to find. And so with that inspiration then, our RE class had a rock painting Sunday, and a lot of those rocks have gone home, but we do have a couple that stayed, and this one is a little bug with a friendly face, and then I think somebody made a Pokemon.
Mine here too.
And yours stayed here too? I couldn't find it, but
It was on the piano.
gotcha.
We'll look for it.
So,
So you can show people during social time.
yeah, so we have been doing lots of really creative things. And then last month when we were talking about inclusion, we talked about, one of the things we talked about was including all the critters of the world. And so we had to design our own critters that had something with them that people might not necessarily like. And then we had to explain why they still should be included. And this one, I think, had a stinging tail. And not everybody likes a stinging tail, but we talked about what a great defense mechanism that would be. And then on another Sunday, we talked about the people that we most admire, and we got to draw pictures of them. And several of our kids drew pictures of their parents, and some of them did their teachers. And then finally, our youth group in February did a shared art project. And so we did these really nice canvases. And again, several of these went home already, but we did 4-leaf clovers with ladybugs on them. Yeah, and that was a lot of fun. So we have really enjoyed these last couple of months exploring the beauty in art and how art can make us feel connected to one another. And it's a way that we can all find ways to be included because everybody has different art styles, but put them all together and they're all really beautiful.
And so today, the adults are going to talk about art and beauty. I'm sorry, you need to take over.
You are fine. So yes, the grown-ups down here are going to be talking about art and beauty from their perspective today. And I think they've got a really good talk ahead. But upstairs in RE, we're starting a new month where we're talking about the theme of trust. And we're going to start it with learning to trust ourselves and trust in the wholeness of what we believe. So that's going to be our RE lesson for today. And we're going to be talking about finding the superhero in all of us and lots of fun things. So are we ready to go upstairs? All right, thank you.
I wanted us to see the hymn that we had just a few moments ago.
Mike?
My mind is rebellious today. Okay, it's not coming on at all right now, so I'll just grab this. I wanted us to think today about all the beauty popping out everywhere. Sometimes we know very well that things happen that upset us, make us sad, make us angry. But when we observe things of beauty, or when we create art like our children have done, it helps us remember that whatever happens, beauty is all around us. And we take an offering of our gifts each Sunday for the work of this community, both within this building and in the larger community. Okay, best laid plans with microphones. Whoa. Never mind. The Reverend Scott Taylor, thank you, wrote this poem, The Blessings of Trust. We gather today to receive the blessings of trust. May the relationships in this room remind us we do not have to depend only on ourselves. May the quiet we share help us hear and renew our faith that instills and in that still small voice within. May the music sung inspire us to hold tight to the restorative rhythms of the world. May the words offered remind us that we too have a voice, one that must be trusted and shared. This month, we focus on the theme of trust, for even when we experience unease as institutions that uphold our democracy are being shaken, we seek to find and to maintain the core beliefs and ethics that are the foundation of our trust in the relationships and the communities that uphold us. In the midst of our dis-ease, may we seek and find beauty. And it is our tradition to honor the joys and the concerns. We hold up today the joys and the concerns that are part of our lives. The stages of growth and understanding that are part of every generation. We also hold up our concern and worry about family and friends who are ill in mind, body, or spirit. May they find healing and wholeness. We are also aware that there are days when the state of the world feels overwhelming. And in those days, may we reach out to each other and to our community. And may we remember that there is great beauty and wonder and mystery all around us. And it's important for our well-being, our soul's well-being, that we look for the good in the midst of the chaos that sometimes surrounds us. We ask for support and sustenance as we seek to live our world, hold on to our ethics, our beliefs, our values. May we also hold on to our sense of humor and our wonder at the beauty of the earth. This we ask in the name of all that is sacred. Amen. Thank you, Emily. The last few weeks, we've been considering some pretty intense subjects that are important, but they also cause us worry and anxiety and anger. We have perhaps asked ourselves, what can I trust anymore? The emotions and realities we experience are real and often intense. And all too often these days, we forget that these feelings and thoughts are not the whole of our reality. Our truth is lived in the midst of chaos, but also in the midst of beauty. I can tell the beauty is coming out because I realized after the service started that I didn't take any allergy medication. Thank you for the throat lozenge. Our truth is lived in the midst of chaos and in the midst of beauty. I thought of this when I saw the protest at Lincoln Center, during which dancers were part of a peaceful protest. Art can give our souls peace, and it can be a statement of protest. So today I'd like for us to take time to consider beauty and art in its many forms, from daffodils to poetry, to music that stirs our souls, to splendid silence. Let's focus our hearts and minds today on the gift of art. Already today, we've seen the children's art. We've already opened our hearts to sing. I think probably several of us this morning have already had a good run or taken care of critters, or maybe read an inspiring book or some poetry. We might have found some daffodils or crocus. Art gives inspiration and beauty to our lives. How can we not see beauty around us as Mother Nature wakes up from winter? The human soul needs more than work, more than survival. We need beauty that touches and invigorates our lives. And I also realized late last night that the art I love is often connected to beauty that makes a statement about justice and ethics. Emily and I were talking a little bit about that before the service. So for me, art is beauty, and it's also a statement about humanity. That wasn't where I thought the sermon was going. It was going to be sweetness and light, but my thoughts got stirred. And as I thought about art and beauty, I remembered hymn 109 in our gray hymnal. It's actually associated with a textile strike in Lawrence, Massachusetts in 1912, often called the Bread and Roses strike. The strike appealed both for fair wages and for dignity and respect for the workers. Based on a union organizing poem by James Oppenheimer, the poet remembers banners held by young girls in that protest. And the banner said, "We want bread and roses too." The first two verses of that hymn, "As we come marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 mill lofts gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we come marching, marching, we battle too for men, for they are women's children, and we mother them again. Our days shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us roses. In a myriad of ways, human beings have created art to bring joy into their lives and to make a statement about justice and love. Life is far more than physical subsistence. We need to express our love, hope, need for justice, beauty, and so much more. Of course, immigration is very much on our minds and hearts these days. The story of immigration is more than about survival. It's also about the hope of souls who want more for their lives and for their children. The history of the world is shaped by those who have had vision and courage to seek a better land. I imagine we all had the experience of an artwork that seared itself into our being. It could have been music. At Young Adults last week, Andreas was sharing his experience of a beautiful classical concert, and he closed his eyes to describe it, and we could all just feel his love of music. For me, a photograph that seared itself into my heart was The Migrant Mother by Dorothea Lange, a brilliant photographer and works progress administration artist. Isn't that the most incredible face? During the Depression, many families survived because of New Deal projects, and the WPA artists exposed the breadth of suffering. In this picture, Lang captures the agony and the strength of a mother who's on a journey to a better life for her children. She looks, to me, both worried and beautiful. There's a stolid hope in that face, a hope that the high-risk journey across the United States will bring abundance. Art offers us encounters with hope and despair. Art helps us open to layers of our being and helps us gain perspectives we might not have been able to access without art, whether it be music or poetry or whatever. Every Sunday, we find that we are touched in some way by music and word. And we miss you, Emily, when you're not here. Your recordings are wonderful, but you know, I think we've all experienced that. It's the energy and the having you in this space that's such a gift on Sundays. Each of us is touched in different ways by art. Of course, we know, or we need to know, that that nature is the foundation of art. We are diminished if we do not create spaces for creativity and wonder, even when the world seems to be collapsing around us. When it seems the beauty and flowers are gone from our lives, then it's time to step out of the chaos, depression, fear, anxiety that has us bound up these days. We lose beauty when we continue to focus only on what's destructive in life. Years ago, and some of you may have read this book too, I read Anatomy of an Illness by Norman Cousins. After receiving a diagnosis that gave him a 1 in 500 chance of surviving, he treated himself with laughter. And I would say beauty also. The fatal diagnosis was given to him in 1964. Actually, he left the hospital and checked into a hotel across the street with a lot of slapstick comedy movies that he immersed himself in. So that was in 1964. He died in 1990. He chose to change his life by using hope and laughter to find renewal. Now, I'm not saying don't use Western medicine. I'm not saying that. It's just that sometimes we can find healing and hope in unexpected places. Sometimes we all need to break out of the diagnosis of our daily lives to find laughter, beauty, and renewal. Do you have pieces of art that have inspired you? Something simple or complex? Something written or sung or painted? Perhaps during social time, we might want to share some of the art that's given us peace. Poetry, especially Rumi, Kabir, and Tagore, is particularly inspiring to me. One of Rumi's poems, translated by Coleman Barks, for me, speaks to our need for connection that goes deeper than words. I'm sure many of you have heard this. Be out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Now, Coleman Barks, who translated that, is a retired professor from the University of Georgia. When I was serving the Athens, Georgia congregation, Coleman would sometimes read his translations for a special fundraiser in town. At one of those events, I can remember the conversation that happened after his sharing. He confessed that he was an unknown emissary from the US to Iran, back in the days when it wasn't publicized and it was definitely under the radar. He was invited to read his translations at the Iranian Congress. He said this made him really nervous because Rumi's poetry is beloved all over the world, and they took poetry very seriously. After he read his translations with apprehension, there was silence. And then officials began discussing his translations and the meaning of the poetry. There was engaged debate. Coleman said, and this was a number of years ago, imagine if our elected officials in the US took time to discuss poetry. If that happened, our governance might be at a different place. Today, that statement is even more relevant than it was a few years ago. Art changes our thoughts about the world and society. When I was in college, I saw a print of Henry Ossawa Tanner's painting, The Banjo Lesson. There it is. I just love that. It touched my heart when I first saw it. I think in part because it looked like a grandfather teaching his grandson how to play the banjo, how to make music. At the time when I first saw it, I missed my grandfather. Later, at an exhibit at Atlanta's High Museum about the Tanner family, I was amazed with how many amazing artists emerged from that family. So Tanner's 1893 painting was one of the first artworks that showed African Americans who were not stereotyped, but living a rich life filled with art. I felt such love and peace seeing the painting and hearing stories about the Tanner family. It taught me more about life and relationships. Has art ever changed you, inspired you, given you peace of heart and mind? Art does change us. It helps us speak our truth and our faith. One of the liberation theologians, excuse me, I forgot to get my hymnal out. One of the liberation theologians who influenced my thinking was Ernesto Cardenal, a Nicaraguan poet, revolutionary Catholic priest. Art was his means of speaking about transformation and liberation. He was also defrocked by Pope John Paul II because of his political participation with the Sandinistas. But 5 years ago, he was rehabilitated to the priesthood by Pope Francis, who also came up through that liberation theology mindset. Cardinal wrote about the interconnection of all creation. Our lives are works of art, our music, our transformation. So let me find this. There's a wonderful quote by Cardinal in the hymnal, 532. The music of the spheres, a harmonious universe like a harp. Its rhythms are equal, repeated seasons, the beating of the heart, night, day, the going and returning of migratory birds, the cycles of stars and corn, the mimosa that unfolds by day and folds up again by night, rhythms of moon and tide, our single rhythm in planets, atoms, sea, and apples that ripen and fall. And in the mind of Newton, melody, accord, arpeggios, the harp of the universe, unity behind apparent multiplicity. That is the music. Whatever we are feeling about the state of the world and our lives, beauty, truth, friendship, community can be transformational, not only for ourselves, but also for those around us. For some moments every day, we need to give our lives up to beauty. How we see and embrace the world can keep us sane and grounded in times when the world seems to be coming apart. Art, music, beauty can weave us together to help create a more just and loving world. In that spirit, I invite us to stand and sing together a beautiful piece of music. It's a great protest song. Thanks, Pete Seeger. That brings back memories. Let's wave goodbye to our Zoomies. Zoomies, can you wave goodbye to those of us who are roomies? It's great to be together. So, as our service draws to a close, we extinguish the flame of our chalice as we share these words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing benediction comes from E. E. Cummings. I thank you, God, for this amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and the blue true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. And our postlude this morning comes from a poem written by Julia Ward Howe, an abolitionist and Unitarian, adapted from a marching song as she watched Union soldiers going off to war. It helped her express her feelings about the evils of slavery and war.